Bow-wee-o-wee-o. This is Papa Zero here once again, and today we're looking at a freeze walking simulator. Now, before I get into the beef and tomatoes of this build, I want to preface something real quick. Most people don't know this, but majority of my stories either happened to me in real life and or are based on true events. And between those two categories, it encapsulates about 97% of my stories. And
what's the other 3%?
Huh?
You said 97% of the stories you tell are based on your life or true events. What's the leftover percentage nugget?
Oh, that tiny slice is based on my life as well, but very slightly embellished. Nothing super crazy, just, I like to put a little oomph behind some of the more boring parts of the story.
Oh yeah? Like what? Give me an example.
Let's see here. Oh, I got one. Remember Miranda's story?
Nope.
The lady that ran up to me at the bus station.
Not a clue.
When she said she was using the N64 controller to play Path of Exile.
What?
She actually used the original 1988 Nintendo controller.
How dare you?
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. Honestly, I just wanted to appeal to a bigger audience, and that's my bad. And from now on, I promise to decrease the embellishment percentile.
You better.
Alright, so let's talk about the build. Oh, wait a second, hang on. Before I do, I have to talk about how I got the idea for this build. Last Tuesday, I was camping with a bunch of my friends. We were minding our own business when all of a sudden we saw a light, a glow over yonder in the distance. Busting out my lorgnette, I was able to see slightly better. Honing in on the light, I discovered that the forest was ablaze, not 300 yards from us. Panicked, my friends and I had no idea what to do. We all had our rotary phones on our person, but we had no outlet to plug them into to call for help. We were also hours away from the nearest metropolis. The feeling of dread was overwhelming. But that's when I heard a voice coming across from me. It was Bob.
Hey, look, there's a man in the sky.
I looked the direction he was pointing to, and with my own eyes, I saw the superhero Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze? The villain from Batman? He can't fly.
Oh, he was flying, Billy.
Come on, you just said you weren't gonna exaggerate.
This actually happened.
And also, what does this have to do with this build?
Everyone knows that fire is vulnerable to ice.
If you're talking about Pokemon, or just in general, that's actually wrong.
Actually, I was talking about Digimon.
Yeah, pretty sure that's also wrong.
Enough! Just real quick, if you enjoy heisting or delving, this build may be just for you. As you can see in the short clip, I haven't done any delving this league really. I'm only at eye level 82 monsters, but in the narrow corridors, this build shines. That's why I mentioned heist as well. How deep into the mine can one get with this build? I have no idea. Experiment. You let me know. With this build, I really wanted to focus on the cooldown recovery rate of Frostblink. The cooldown is not completely min-maxed, but pretty dang close. The cooldown of Frostblink by default is 2.4 seconds, and in my hideout I have it down to 0.85. And with 9 frenzy charges, it's at 0.64 seconds. And that's not including the cooldown recovery from when you're near monsters. With patience and luck, you too can get yourself a pair of void batteries with cooldown recovery rate. I was quite lucky and I was able to find one that also gives me a nice crit chance to spells. I have the Heat Shiver with cooldown recovery, but before I found one, I was using the Assassin's Mark Curse effect, which gives a bit more damage. One that unnerves with Arcanist brand, if you're using it, also provides more damage, but you can get chance to unnerve on your gloves. My Frostblink is level 30 due to the chest plus empower. I'm using Bone Chill because I want to ensure that I had at least 30% chill effect on them guardians. A crit multi would suffice, maybe even add more damage, but I haven't tested it. I'm not using Ellie Focus, even though that adds the most damage, because I wanted to chill and freeze as much as I could. And the damage was pretty solid. If you're going purely for damage though, then that's going to be your best bet, along with running Zealotry instead of Grace, Aura, like I did. The way I get Frenzy Charges is via Precursor Ring, which also gives me a bit of Fizz reduction, and my second one gives me damage and Fizz reduction. If you cannot get Precursor Ring with Frenzy Charge on hit, try out Blood Rage. Ice Bite in the main setup, or Brutal Restraint, which gives Frenzy Charge on kill. Or, as a last resort, do Diodra's Elixir. The massive cooldown recovery is thanks to the Badge of the Brotherhood and Frenzy Charges. Unfortunately, I didn't see a feasible way to get elusive on this build, so I ain't got it. No big deal. The build gives me life, resistances, and a bit of cooldown recovery, and another chunk of recovery is from the Stampede Boots. Again, if you want more damage, get yourself a Bottled Faith Flask, maybe even Wise Oak Flask. But to me, the damage was more than good, so I focused just a tiny bit on defenses with my flasks. I'm using a Lethal Pride Jewel for double damage chance, and I also have the Watcher's Eye with Hatred Penetration. And initially I was toying with the Haste Aura, providing even more recovery, but since I have so much already, it was very minimal, so I went with the Grace Aura instead. Lastly, I'm a huge fan of Freeze and Chill, so I got myself some more. Yep, that's right. How much damage do these nodes actually add? Probably a lot, but it may be a bit inconsistent. Oh yeah, almost forgot. I wanted to get Shaper of Storms on this build, but I could not get my hands on the other half, so if you seek more damage, get these Forbidden Halvesies. Okay, super quick. I initially started this build as a Hierophant because I wanted totems to do my bidding, but I didn't like the playstyle, ultimately. The precursor rings didn't generate me any frenzies, so I had to use Diodra's Elixir, which was sketch, and using charge mines to generate charges was awkward because I had to throw the mines, cast my totems, then lightning warp around. I also dislike lightning warp, so that was a huge part of it as well. But unfortunately, it's the only mode of transportation because of the Stampede Boots. It also seemed more defensive on paper because the totems actually taunted the enemies. But first of all, you have to put them down before they even attack. And second, they had only about 2,500 life, so in Crucibles, they would sometimes get decimated. For bosses, however, it was pretty smooth. Maybe even more so than the Occultist self-cast version. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage, but overall it was decent, and therefore I'm including the POB down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with another beautiful build. Oh, putting me on the spot like that, huh, Billy Billy? Billy Billy? Busting out my Lorganet. I was able to